This lesson is on the greatest common factor, which starts in your not your Go Math book. It starts in your Florida Reveal book on page 23. The question is, what is the greatest common factor of 64 and 96? There's a three-step process to find the greatest common factor. We have to list our factors, list all of the factors, and then we identify which ones they share. And if they share a number, that means that it's the common factor. So we identify the common factors. Then from that group of common factors, we identify the greatest common factor. So the very first thing I have to do is I have to list all the factors of 64. That would be 1 times 64, 2 times 32, 4 times 16, and 8 times 8. I can use my divisibility rules in order to figure out which factors belong to 64. For an example, 3 times another factor is never going to take place because the divisibility rule for 3, if I add the 6 plus the 4, I get 10, and 10 is not divisible by 3. Therefore, 64 is not divisible by 3. 2 is divisible into 64 because 64 is an even number. And then, of course, 6 is not divisible into 64 because the divisibility rule for 6 is that 2 and 3 both have to work. And in this case, only 2 works. So the divisibility rules really help you find all of your other factors. We also have something called double this, half that. If you're having trouble to make sure that you have all of your factors, you could always think double this, half that. For an example, if I double the 2, I get a 4. And it works. So if I half this 32 to 16, it also works. And if you look again, double this, 4 doubled would be 8, and half of 16 would be 8. So double this, half that helps find missing factors that you're looking for. Because sometimes, I will admit, it is a struggle for students. Listing all the factors of 96. 1 times 96. 2 times 48. Again, that's double this, half that. Double this, half of that. And then I ask myself, does 3 work? Yes, 3 works because 3 will work with a 9 and 6. So it's 3 times 32. And then double this, half that. So double 2 would be 4. Half of 48 would be 24. And then I could look at double this, half that. Double the 3 would make it a 6. Half of 32 is 16. And then I can look at this one, double this, half that. Double 4 would be 8, and half of that would be 12. And that's probably all of them because they'll start flip-flopping around. Yep, that's all of them. So now what I have to do is identify the common factors because I completed the first step and I listed all of the factors. So let's look for the ones they share. They share a 1. They share a 2. And they share a 4. They share an 8. And they share a 16. And they share a 32. So I'm going to list the common factors. Again, those are the factors that both numbers share. That would be 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. So that's step 2. So far I've completed list all of the factors, identify the common factors. Now the last thing I have to do is I have to identify the greatest common factor. That is simply looking for the biggest number of the common factors. That's as easy as it gets. So my greatest common factor of 64 and 96 is going to be 32. Once again, we're going to list the steps to find the greatest common factor. The first thing was to list all the factors. Your second step, identify common factors. Third step, identify the greatest common factor. And that's it. Once again, the greatest common factor of 64 and 96 would be 32. Next, we are going to learn how to apply the greatest common factor in real world situations. But if you don't have the steps memorized on how to get the greatest common factor each time, you're not going to be able to solve those real world problems. Thank you for watching the lesson on greatest common factor.